and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't see Crystal Shiplin here, so we'll just have a moment of silence and thoughts before the meeting. We can have a roll call.
Councilpersons Bear,
Here.
Dupre, is not here, Ross, here, Salcido,
Here.
Soar,
Here.
Tobin, and Mayor Higgins.
Here. Have a few things for Mayor's remarks this week. First, I want to talk about what a wonderful summer we've had and remind everybody that it is fall, so please keep an eye on the kids going to school, coming back from school, and other activities are out. But with the end of summer coming comes the end of our concerts. And the last concert was 2 weeks ago on Thursday night. It was the Zelenex Band, and it was my honor that night I gave the key to the city to Ed and his brother, who have done so much for the city for so long, and I want to congratulate them here. That night I made a big announcement as well. At the halftime at the concerts, I know that's not the right word, but halftime at the concerts, I carry a box around and ask for donations, and the good, generous people who come to those concerts this year, and the money goes to kids' programs and helps finish paying for the concerts so the city doesn't have to pay for them. We raised over $10,000 this year. And we have a contest, and the leading band gets invited back next year with a contract. The top three bands were close, so I'm going to announce the third place was the Detroit Rock City, a KISS band. The second band was the Leave the Kids Alone band, which was made up of all kids, which was amazing. Coming in first place and winning the contract, Infinity and Beyond, for the second year in a row. Their night brought in $942.50 alone. I have a nice proclamation for them, but they're not here, so I will bring them to their office. So. All right. Second, I'd like to remind everybody, the Happenings is out. If you haven't got one, go by the Parks and Recreation office or let them know. It is very, very improved this year, and it looks very good. A lot of new pictures, a lot of new articles. And I want to congratulate the Parks and Rec staff. They put together a really good book, and I want to thank them for doing that. It's something I've liked to see for a couple years now. And they also, and when I told them that, they said, "Oh, could you please announce a couple events?" So Movie in the Park will be on September 23rd. That'll be at Youth Center. Nightmare on 4th Street, October 7th. And then also I'd like to remind everybody, Farmers Market on Sunday. And also on October 8th, the firehouse is going to have an open house. The fire department. Bring your kids. Everybody loves them. They always have a fun time there. That's really all I have for tonight for the mayor's remarks. Okay. Now I'd like to call a public hearing for Capers. Joan Hennessy is here. Is Joan Hennessy here?
Nope.
Not up here. Okay, well, we'll push this off, and maybe she'll show up a little later. Hopefully, we will take care of that. Resolve the following items are listed under the consent agenda, approved to be presented to the Mayor Council for approval. The council may note that a couple things are different than what we first got, but the clerk sent it out today or later today in an email explaining the differences. There will be approval of the regular minutes of September 5th, 2023, the approval of claims and payable, the approval of training for the police department, training for the FTO supervisor for the police department, approval for the lot combination of 1764 Ann, approval of a lot combination of 1764 Arlington, the approval of a special event for 8-sided vendor show, approval of a special event for the evangelical service,
This is the one you're going to,
a study session for the Public Health Board will be
October 16th.
October
Not
16th.
October 2nd.
Not October 2nd, but October 16th
Can we have a
7.
time?
at 7 o'clock. The scheduled special meeting for closed session for labor negotiations and solicit bids for garage bay door replacement for the fire department.
I'll move.
And because we moved that health advisory, we don't need to change the one for labor negotiation, so that'll stand as it was in the packet, okay?
Which was 8 PM, correct?
No,
Second.
it was for 6:30.
Thank you.
We have a mover.
Lillian moved.
Support.
We have a support.
I thought Maureen's
We did.
supported it, okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. Councilpersons Bear?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Ross,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
Salcido,
Yes.
Zor,
Yes.
Tobin,
Yes.
and Mayor Higgins.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, the first thing up is from the clerk's office. Approval of a vehicle use permit? Or that should have been,
It's a used vehicle parts dealer license.
all right,
It's the renewal of an annual.
okay. All right, resolved that the annual renewal of a 2023 Class C used vehicle parts dealer license be approved for the following location: Ruby Recycling LLC, 3298 Dix. Fees and applications and insurance have been filed.
I'll move for discussion.
I'll second.
Okay. Lillian, would you have something to ask?
Yeah, I do. First, I would just want to clarify, because now Ruby Recycling is classified the way it should have been back in June, as a used vehicle parts dealer. So there's that. And then I want the residents to know, because there's been a lot of issues with Ruby Recycling, that we're still working with them. And so I want to take this time to let Mr. Myers know that I still have issues with the barbed wire that they have. It is not angled the right way. And I want to know also what they're going to do for noise abatement. I drove by there today, and their machinery is right up against the fence on, what street is that? The one where the Crowley Center is.
Buckingham?
Yes, yep. So it's very loud. So I'd like to know that we're working to safeguard the integrity of that neighborhood.
I do know they have been in here several times for meetings and are working with the city. And they're trying to schedule yet another one, so.
Well, and let me add, I'm sorry, can I add that when I drove by there today, their stacks of vehicles are up over the fence line again.
That's correct. According to the pictures I saw from you, that is correct.
So these are things that we still need to address with them.
That shouldn't violate the rights for them to have a C class. What has the right, if they violate our ordinances after they've been approved to have a license and be located there, which they have by law, our job is to cite them for violations. not to eliminate their right for having it. It would be the same for any other used car dealership that annually comes through the door. If we find that they have not met our obligations, then we have the right to cite them until they've complied with it, to grant them annually cycling it through. So at this point, they've done in other areas more than above what we've asked. Right now, they are working on the completion of the detention program that has been established and approved and designed with Wayne County, because it will go into actually Buckingham itself in that water range, and they've given us the licenses and the legal documents to use the right-of-way of the church property, and approval to do those as well. We've also seen the request both by the fire department and myself, the Eagle organization for the state, for both air quality and for soil, be on the property multiple times on our request, as well as they have provided a third-party air quality organization to come and give a report after a lengthy stay in their organization, in their stay. So all those are cleared and passed at this point. So we can continue to monitor their performance and their behavior. They've added more than we've asked in regards to surface. They keep a record for us now every time that they spray to keep this dust down in between the rain issues. Then also they have provided alarm systems throughout the property, as well as a fire rover system in it. So uniquely in their demolition piece, they have a large tank that they've chosen and agreed with us to put into the ground. So we're not worried about water runoff or oil runoff or chemical runoff, because it's actually siphoned right into a draining system and a tank that is then pumped and removed from the property as needed. So at this point, I can't really see anything in our laws or ordinance that we can do other than to cite them as they violate things after they have operated for any period of time.
I'm sorry,
Go
through the
ahead.
chair. Are we working with them to put up something for noise?
Well, what we'll do, we have a meeting that we'll schedule for them in regards to that, but it would be not necessarily a barrier that would stop it, because it would bounce to the other side. So closing it off for the first time in 50 or 60 years may or may not be met, but we have agreed to meet with them. The other category that we're talking and working out the long-term timeline on is surfacing the entire dirt road. So those meetings haven't been met at this point, but they're in the process of gathering everybody from their vacations and their holidays and their sick times, and once everybody's on the table, we'll have a chance to collaborate on what would be the best timeline for each of these issues and how they should or should not be met.
Thank you.
John, I know from being a coach and being to different schools and different football stadiums, because the area gets loud and the neighbors don't always appreciate it, they do use some soundproofing on the fencing. Is there something like that could be used?
They can, they do. We haven't negotiated the type. It's been on the agenda for us to speak about, but it hasn't come to a resolution. But it isn't a mandate to our ordinance to have it. And so now we're talking about helping them finance their business and then put that kind of money into a sound barrier system on a negotiable timeline, because it isn't written in the existing business as it is from our previous ownership that it has been for a long time. So that is about a negotiation of an organization more than willing to collaborate and help us meet our needs for our neighborhood, as well as meet their needs for their business. And they have been more than supportive to do over and above what we've asked so far.
Anybody else have anything?
Through the chair, Your Honor. Mr. Myers, perhaps my displeasure isn't aimed towards you. However, the carriage over the fence has been brought up 4 months ago.
Yes.
Right? We have a school right behind that building. We have residents, okay?
Yes.
If a car ever would fall over a fence and hurt somebody, that would be very disturbing. But that's not towards you. I would also suggest next time you meet with Ruby Recycling, they could come up to a council meeting and maybe perhaps let the residents know to hear their complaints. But my question is, in the writing of this used parts dealer license, they don't sell used parts. Are you aware of that?
They do.
They do not.
They sell parts.
They do not sell used car parts. I can tell you that because I called today, I've called 3 months ago, and I called 4 months ago. So who's misleading who here? Let the residents know they do not sell used parts. I asked for a starter for a 2000 Cadillac, and they told me bluntly, they do not sell car parts, not only once, but twice. So did you want to explain that to our residents of Lincoln Park?
I can.
And my anger is not vented towards you. I'm just telling you the reports that I get and the calls and the text messages I get.
Maybe the definition of the terms is not like going to a auto zone and saying, hey, I'd like a borrow or buy one. It's not that kind of a used parts selling business. This is bulk parts selling business. So when they take aluminum tires off, they sell bulk. When they take tires off, they sell those used tires back to other companies, and they sell them in that way. You might be thinking of, I'm going to Riley's, and I'm asking O'Reilly's, and I'm asking them to give me a used car starter. Well, that's not the parts division that they sell to. It's a large corporate program. So they not only do those, but they would do mufflers, they would do other things that they would sell, as well as metal scrap. But it's all corporate and it's all bulk, not miniature. And so I don't know the number of businesses that they actually sell tires to that come off of these vehicles, and they reprocess them into other companies that come in and buy them from them. They don't sell private individual pieces to private individual people.
But does that Class C license require them to sell used parts?
No,
No.
Are you sure?
it
Yes.
allows them to. It doesn't require them to.
There's the two different choices.
So then why is this word used parts dealer, and I won't harp on this anymore, why isn't it called like what you just described as we sell in bulk?
Because somebody at the state level who wrote the definition didn't have our thinking process. And it's not our definition, and it's not our use of definition. These are state registered licenses, and so we don't get to control the definitions or the terms in which they use those definitions in.
Okay, thank you. So my final point is, when it was Dick's Auto Parts, I could buy used car parts.
That's correct.
That's my whole point. That's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you.
Through the chair, if I may, I want to clarify, because this confused me way back when we started with this. And if you look at ordinance 888.01, it's used auto dealer defined, okay? And it says, as used in this chapter, used automobile dealer means a dealer in used automobiles when purchased or sold as a unit. And that's what they were defined for back in June, and that's not what they were. So we go to ordinance 886.01, dealer in used auto parts defined, okay? And as used in this chapter, dealer in used auto parts means any person engaged in or conducting a business commonly known as a used auto parts business, or any person in the business of dismantling automobiles, dealing in used or secondhand auto parts or salvaged automobiles, or selling, buying, or delivering used or secondhand auto parts in the city. So there's the difference.
There's your difference. That's the difference in our ordinance, but the state writes theirs.
There's variances in that language that you mentioned. It also speaks about selling used parts, and they don't sell used car parts.
They are selling used car parts, they're
To the
just
public?
not selling them retail to the public, they're selling them wholesale to dealers.
So
To the
does it
public.
specify in that
And
language?
it doesn't
Does not to the public.
specify
That's
in
my
either
whole
one of
point
them.
here. We're thinking it's a used parts auto supplier, but they do not sell to the public. So that's all I wanted. I wanted to bring it out to the residents because that's the issues that I'm getting, okay? So be it that all is said, I don't like the car stacked over the fence. I'm sure you work with them. I would like them to come to a council meeting and hear what's moving forward, okay? The complaints have been down. The noise is still there, the dust is still around. It's a business. We want them in the business in Lincoln Park. I don't want to deter any business in Lincoln Park, but let's keep our residents happy and safe. That's my whole point. So thank you very much, Mr. Myers.
I can promise at this point, safe is in place. I can't promise anyone's happiness.
And with that, I will call for the vote.
Councilpersons Ross,
Yes.
Tobin,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
Salcido,
No.
Zor,
Yes.
and Mayor Higgins.
Yes. Next up is our police department.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you all know, the towing contract is set to expire in October. Police Department went out for bids, and there were three companies that submitted bids. City Towing of Lincoln Park, Gotch and Sons, and Rusco's Towing. Their bid specs are attached. And the police department is requesting Mayor and Council award Gotch and Sons the towing for the police towing contract. Gotch and Sons has held the contract for the past 3 years. In that time, they have exceeded the police department's expectations, proving to be a professional company able to manage any type of police, fire, DPS-related needs or demands that have been asked of them. Of the three bids, they have by far the largest fleet. They have state-of-the-art equipment and the most qualified employees. They're hazmat certified and the only towing company in the state to hold a hazmat permit. In addition to their fast, efficient, and reliable tow services, they've also been a great partner to our city. There will be no budget impact on this. And again, the towing contract is set to expire October 23rd. It is the recommendation of the police department, myself, that Mayor and Council adopt this resolution to award the bid to Gotch and Sons Towing.
All right, resolve that the mayor and council award Gotch and Sons the bid for police towing for the Lincoln Park Police Department as are the best qualified bidder that meets all the police department specifications. Be it further be resolved that the funds come from the police department's towing yard lease account 101-305-941.
I'll move. Support. Through the chair.
On that side.
Has the contract changed from the previous 3 years?
It has not, no.
Thank you.
Okay.
Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Davis, I understand that they're hazmat certified, no other one was, and you've had no complaints of these guys. I've had good feedback from this towing company. Do you agree with me that they've been very well in cooperation with you and the police staff?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
Something to consider with that hazmat, Baker's Gas, the Marathon plant, all the automotive factories, U.S. Steel, BASF. There is potential for stuff, and to have a company that is ready and able and competent to do that.
Thank you.
Through the chair?
Yes.
If I may. Chief, how long is this contract good for?
It is 2 year, well, it would be what the contract would be, but our last contract was 2 years with the option of a 1 year extension.
Okay.
Any further questions? I'll call for the vote.
Councilpersons Tobin,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Salcido.
Yes.
Zor,
Yes.
and Mayor Higgins.
Yes. Next up will be the city manager.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Everybody might recall, about a year and a half ago, we made a significant move with the police department to try and recruit officers. At that time, we did a blanket $6,500 across-the-board increase, and for a time, this helped. Right before we did that, we were staring vacancies upward towards 8, 9 officers right in the face. We were successful, and we got to just about full staffing at one point. Unfortunately, not long after we did that, most of our neighbors did something very similar and put us right back in the same position, where now we are, again, 7 officers short. As you probably had a closed session a few few weeks back. Among other things, this was one of the items we discussed. We've gone to the police department's patrol union with a $1.50 per hour across the board increase, a reinstatement of the 4% gun allowance, which will be included in the base wage on January 1, and then a 3% increase on July 1 to give us another year extension here. The police department's members, they voted and ratified, so the next step is for us to do that. The hope here is that with these two moves, the department's going to have the most competitive wage scale they've probably had in decades. Hopefully we can start really recruiting, bringing on some veteran officers. So hopefully this can get us where we need to be. So there's a resolution attached for the approval of the one-year extension and the wage increase.
Be it resolved that the mayor and council hereby approve the one-year extension and wage increase for the City of Lincoln Park Fraternal Order of Police Labor Council.
I'll move.
Support.
I just want to say that we did just swear in a couple new officers last week, and I'd like to say that we have some jobs open. If you would like to be a police officer, we can help you go to the academy. Please let us know. With that, I will call for the vote.
Councilpersons Tobin?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Bear?
Yes.
Salcido?
Yes.
Soar?
Yes.
And Mayor Higgins?
Yes. And with that, we will move on to the city manager's report.
Yes, thank you again, Mayor. Few items of note for tonight. My list just kept growing as the day went on, and I was preparing a lot of things, I guess, going on. If you guys looked in your emails earlier today, I've been able to acquire the up-to-date C of O report that shows all the C of Os up and down the major business corridors. Also, after a very long battle, we finally got the most recent GFL tonnage report showing all of the weights for the recycling, yard waste, and solid waste. Couple big things that have happened recently. The outdoor fitness court in the downtown area has been installed. Just a reminder here, this was a joint project utilizing some funding from Wayne County's ARPA distribution. The DDA kicked in, and also they had a grant from the National Fitness Campaign. So this was a nice joint project for them. The Southfield Road project should be wrapping up this week. It's been a bit of a headache for most people traveling east and west on the east side of Fort Street there. So it'll be good to have that getting done. We're supposed to have Richmond, the reconstruction, starting very soon. We were hoping it was going to start today. It has yet to start, but hopefully this week we'll be able to start seeing some major progress on that road. The tree trimming program, as you might recall, this is not just to select each individual address. This is going through the blocks and actually cleaning up multiple trees in one instance. This should be more effective, more efficient. That began, I believe, last week. Quick note on hiring. Right now, we have been able to hire and fill the current vacancies at DPS. We do have it posted still because we are still trying to make sure we have, we're staying a little bit ahead, and we've got some names, and we've created eligibility lists for that. We were able to hire the part-time police department records position, and she's going to start tomorrow. And then we've closed the application period for the community planning and development director position, and we've done our initial review of the applications, and we're starting to set up interviews there. Last but not least, and I do have to say thank you to Councilwoman Ross for pointing this out to me and reminding me that this had happened. But earlier in the year, I had put in a request through the state of Michigan, through Senator Geis's office, to get some funding for lead service line replacements. I had put in for $2.5 million. And lo and behold, it was one of those where I put it in and you know, that's never going to happen, but it actually did. So we were awarded $2.5 million through the budget process this year. Yeah, she reminded me that it was out there. So that's on top of the 1.5 million dollars we're getting from the same process for the downtown road reconstructions. So that's $4 million right there in state funding in the next fiscal year, not to mention the $28 million we just received in the pension grant. So we're really getting to a spot where we're actually making some headway on a lot of things. So that's really good. And then last meeting, Councilwoman Tobin, you had mentioned wanting a report on ARPA stuff. Still working on gathering all of that. Just want to let you know it hasn't been forgotten. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
To the chair,
Yes.
when it comes to the fitness park, do you know, are there any plans for any special grand opening ceremony? That I was on the Parks and Recs Commission when this project very first came to the table, so I was very excited to
I
see
have
that.
some thoughts on a pretty fun idea. I'm just trying to convince a couple chiefs to buy into it, so.
Are you talking competitions?
I don't know. I didn't say that, but perhaps.
Okay, and you already answered my question on Richmond, so thank you for that. I did notice, it seemed like what Emmons was spray patch, right?
Yeah, we did that spray patching. We did that trial run on Goddard. Wow, feels like it was just yesterday,
That's
but that's
held
been a
up
little
great
bit.
for a couple months.
It has done really well, and so we initially did just a small bit to see how far we could go, and then we came back, asked for approval to increase the amount up to, I think it was $100,000. And our plans at that point was we were going to hit the rest of Goddard down to Fort Street, and we were going to do that first block east, Richmond, east of Dix, and then we will also wanted to do Emmons between Fort and Dix.
So that one block east of Dixon Richmond will still be getting done.
That's west.
Oh, it's been
west,
done.
The west of Richmond, or west of Dix is the one that's being reconstructed. East of Dix, that first block, we were having spray patched. But also we were able to do Champaign from Dix to the city border. So we really stretched that $100,000 out for this, what is essentially a preventative maintenance kind of action. So.
Thank you. That's great news.
Through the chair,
Yes.
if I may. Thank you, James, for putting in for those monies for us. That was a nice surprise. And going back to Richmond, do we know if the contractor has all the parts to complete that? I'm a little concerned that we're going to run into bad weather,
Yeah,
that we're not going to get done.
We're getting tight here as
Yeah.
far as construction season goes.
I know Austin Street was a problem for us, right?
But luckily for us on this one, we're not dealing with any lead service lines. We're not doing, no, this is just straight road reconstruction on this one. If I recall, John, is the water and sewer coming down the alley, or is that in the middle of the road on that one?
It's actually back of sidewalk, between
Yeah.
back of front of sidewalk and back of curb.
Yeah,
It's
so-
a greenbelt area.
Yeah, so it's not within the road. We can do it later if we
Okay.
like, without disturbing a new road. So,
All right, that sounds good then.
so yeah, hopefully, as long as there's no issues getting concrete, we should be in good shape.
Okay.
To the chair,
Yes.
James, did you say we're fully staffed at the DPS? And if you did, how many members is that?
Now you're testing my memory. Yeah, so we have filled all of the vacancies we had. I believe we're going to have, we will have another one coming up soon that we'll need to fill. But we currently aside, and of course, that goes without saying, we have not filled both mechanic spots because that is the hardest position for us to fill. But as far as laborers go, we have 8 laborers in the water division, 6 laborers in streets, 6 in sewer, making 20, plus we have the 2 buildings and grounds guys, so 22 laborers. And then we're budgeted right now for the 2 mechanic positions, and then the 2 foremen, and of course, John.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the
Chair,
Go ahead.
James, did you look into anything on our lighting?
We started to kick ideas around. It's difficult with the jurisdictions, but I think maybe working with, we talked about working with the Wayne County DPS, and if we have trouble there, kicking it up to the Wayne County Commission. But we're kicking around some ideas that might work.
Well, the one thing that I thought was the most reasonable was just at least having the battery backup. And I'm sure the county would approve. All we're doing is putting backup batteries in that box.
Right.
So, and that's the information that I think I sent you.
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a project we're working towards.
Okay.
For sure.
I'm just seeing where we were at. Thank
Yeah.
you, sir.
No problem.
Real quick, Pond Park, where we took out the pool, ever since, it's just been a big pile of trouble, and
This, again, if you guys recall, we at the last meeting requested the ability to go out to bid for new demo contractors for the dangerous building boards. That was because we had been having so much difficulty with our dangerous building board demo contractor. Guess what? Same contractor that did our pools. So it is a struggle. I'm looking back at the chief because they had an excavator that was broken down at the community pool by the community center. It was there for 7-8 months, broken down, I think, and we finally towed it. It was a pretty hefty towing bill, in fact, looking at Mike as well on that. So we've been having some issues with that contractor for sure. And
this was brought up because some of the neighbors are saying there's kids playing on the big pile of stuff over there, and they're afraid someone's going to get hurt. So I was thinking maybe we could do something about it.
yep, we will definitely take a look at what's going on there.
Anything else for the city manager? Okay, then we are going to move on to our department head, our assessor. He promised us no more than 6 minutes. Somebody put the clock on.
Yep. Okay, last week, we lost Sandy. She was in a horrific car accident, fractured her spine. She won't be back. She's 76 years old, and recovery from this is going to be pretty awesome. Katie and Lisa went and visited her. She seems comfortable. A couple of her kids have been coming to visit and take care of her, but she is in a back brace and she's in constant pain. So keep her in your prayers and thoughts. She was great. She was the fastest filing person I've ever seen, and she will be sorely missed. Okay, to date, we have 240 arm's length transactions for this year that show a sales ratio of 32.54, reflecting an increase of 35% over last year. Those are huge numbers, except for the number of sales, because there's not that many houses that are up for sale. There's a huge shortage in the market, so just be aware. PTA fines, 227 fines from January to today, totaling $54,275. For 2022, we had 135 for a total of $32,000, and if you go back to 2019, there were none. So nobody went after them in 19.
Could you please tell the public what a PTA fine is?
Property transfer affidavit. In Michigan, the law says that you don't have to file a deed with the Register of Deeds. So PTAs were part of Proposal A. And a property transfer affidavit just tells us if somebody bought a piece of property. They have 45 days from the date of closing to get that to our office, or there's a fine For residential parcels of $5 a day to a maximum of $200. For commercial, it's $20 a day to a maximum of $1,000. And if you go over the really big numbers, it can be essentially a $20,000 fine. We haven't had one of those. Melvindale's had 2. Let's see, it's been a trying year, but we're moving forward. We're working now on the brownfield. James locked down an attorney for us, so we're going to have a meeting with that person soon, hopefully. We're distributing and I know everybody hates this, but it's the easiest way for us to refer to it, the road to nowhere parcels. You had 2 of the combinations tonight, and we're moving slowly forward with that. Not quite sure why, but we have a 3rd one, but DPW's got to take down a couple of our trees that are intruding on their property, and then he'll be happy to take it. We're doing the numbering and setups for the trailer park. That's something that should have happened back in the 90s. Every site should have its own parcel number. Currently, they don't. It's just one big blob. So that's kind of a time-consuming process because it's manually entered. So we have that. We're digitizing the maps. It would go better if our brand-new plotter actually worked consistently, but it doesn't, so we're bringing the salespeople back, and we're going to explain to them that we've played with this for a year. It needs to be fixed, or you need to go away and we'll get a new one. PRE denials, principal residency exemptions. A lot of these are, people don't understand the rules. Some of them aren't. Some of them are, oh, well, I've got this PRE, this exemption, and my husband's got the one in Petoskey. We work very hard at playing catch-up on those because we can go back current in 3 years if we find that something's not correct. If we catch these, we get 70% of the fines. If the state captures these, they get 70%, we get 20%. The county doesn't have staffing for it right now, but they would be in the mix too. So currently we have just under 200 that are out and in process. So that's money for us, and it's actually helps the school district a lot because that PRE exemption exempts the property owner from the 18 mills of school tax. Based on CPI tracking, it looks like we might have another 5% taxable increase year. Currently, we're just over 6%. Proposal A says that the taxable value can go up either the adjusted consumer price index or 5%, whichever is lower. Last year, the CPI was 7.9%, so it was 5%. This year, it looks like it's going to be a 5% increase also. And finally, we are updating and expanding the shared services agreement with Melvindale. The mayor and I had a really cordial meeting with them, and we're working through that. It's a long process. Essentially, we do the assessing for the city of Melvindale. They want to make a couple tweaks in the agreement, and the adjusted agreement has been sent to their attorney so they can take a look. Questions?
Anybody have any questions?
Through the chair?
Sure.
If I could. Sandy was just part-time, or was she full-time?
She was part-time. She did full-time amounts of work. For those of you who were here, we had an office that was, that high in paper throughout the office. And in the last few years, we've gone through and played catch-up with that. My wife came in and helped, and some other friends came in. I mean, we had a ton of people. But the problem is, we get 800 or 900 pieces of paper a week, plus everything that we generate. So that's a huge amount of filing, and she would get that done weekly. And so, yeah, she's going to be a huge loss.
So is it basically just a filing person that you're looking for, so they don't have to be,
They're not allowed to do customer contact. There's rules about that now. They keep changing the laws, and we kind of are going along with it, but
is that position posted yet? Not yet?
it will be.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you, sir. Good report. Gone to the oral reports of the council. We'll start our... No?
City manager? Here we give this.
Oh, citizens communications. Sorry, guys. I always miss one of them. Does anybody would like to talk to this board?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Sam Knowlton. I'm actually a pastor of church here in Lincoln Park on Otter Drive, located at 25340 Otter Drive. I come here, but my interest is another piece of property on Otter Drive. I grew up in a house at 26560 Otter Drive. It's just past my church. I want to purchase that property. I've already got purchase agreements for the two properties on both sides of it. So I came down on last week, or 2 weeks ago maybe, about purchasing that property because I found out from Wayne County that you guys now own that property because of taxes or something or other. So I'm interested in purchasing that property, and I'd like to know the steps in doing that. What do I need to do to purchase that property?
I'd have to have you call the city manager.
I spoke to that office 2 weeks ago, and they said there was a building permit by the city to demo the property, and I said to them that I will demo the property. I don't want the house, I want the land, is what I want, because I'm purchasing all of that land.
There's a long history with that
Yes, it
house,
is.
and the city will hold on to it till that property is taken care of. After that, you could talk to the city manager.
So once it's been demoed, then we can have some further conversation?
Yes.
Is there a date established?
No, we don't have a date. We just we're just bid out for a new company to take care of this. So
is the bid available? Because I'm a general contractor as well.
Okay.
I happen to be a builder as well. So I'll be interested in bidding on demoing the property, or if I purchase the property, I'll inherit the cost to demo the property to save the city some money.
The city manager, the city attorney is advising that we meet with you separately.
Okay, sure.
So please call back to the city manager, and we'll set up a meeting, we'll talk.
Sure, I'll call on tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Is anybody else? Mr. Kelsey?
Mayor, how you doing?
Good. Former councilman?
Former.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Obviously, my name's Larry Kelsey. I live in Lincoln Park. I have a few, concerns, And one of the concerns is I live over by Riverbank and Abbott, right, Hoover School is right behind me. This is an old issue. People blow through the stop sign, they race down the street, they run ATVs on the road, and I know the common answer, because I've been there, is, well, we're going to put up a sign or a rolling monitor that says how fast you're going. That ain't going to solve the problem. These are not stupid people that do this. They're all ages and all types. I think a while back, we talked about a public safety officer or a road officer to stick on those issues, and I don't know if because you reorganized the department, it says traffic on the police department where they no longer have to do all the other stuff. Anyways, I'd like to see some kind of resolution to that, and you can't put a cop car every day there, I understand that, but the trouble is if you never put a cop car there, nobody ever cares. And anyways, we have a school, the kids walk to school there, and like I say, I'd like to have something there. Myself, I almost got hit a couple times walking my dog, and it's all ages, old people, young people, I don't care who it is. They roll right through that stop sign. So anyways, that's my first issue. The other issue is that we just got done talking, or you, about the fact that, I think the city manager, about the DPS being up to full speed. Well, I got a little problem with that. The DPS back in 2014 had 51 people. Nothing's changed since then. We haven't lost any land, we haven't got rid of any property other than some of it, and we had contractors doing that anyways when they did outside contracting for mowing. Anyways, I'd like to see a road sweeper come down my road. We paid a lot of money, and you're well aware of how much we paid for those road sweepers. Now, it takes 4 people to do those road sweepers, 1 for each road sweeper and 1 for each dump truck. And I don't know how you manage it, but I think once or 4 times a year, I should see one come down there. And I'm not knocking it, I'm just saying there should be a schedule, I think there is, for when the garbage is picked up, to have the road sweeper go down. If you got a full complement, I don't see a problem with doing that. But I don't think you do, based upon what I see. Also, we used to have a fabricator at DPS, and he saved us a ton of money doing the trailer for the semi that was all banged up and all that. At that time, he was doing all kinds of fabrication. Well, he asked for $1 more an hour. We let him go, because we couldn't afford it. And here I see the police department, which they're justified in, don't get me wrong, getting their money on their back to what they were at from before. And I'm wondering, are we taking money from one to give to the other, or what? My last comment is the fact that I guess, I'm just confused about where we're doing some of this stuff. This has been old, these are old issues. This issue, these 2 issues, they've been as long as I've been on council. And they've been touched on and left and touched on and left. But now that I'm an ordinary citizen, I guess I'm complaining because even though I'm paying for this. And I know those sweepers were darn expensive. Took us a long time to get them. We had 4 old ones, which were garbage, bought 2 new ones. And it's a shame to have those not being used, especially when we're still paying for them on the lease or whatever it is we got. And going back to the traffic thing, you know, I don't see why you can't get a traffic person, not so much a traffic department. Because looking at some of the comments I see, schools are having a problem with people cutting in and out. Oh, I'm done. Thank you.
If you could wait after the meeting, I'm sure the chief would talk to you.
Sure.
Okay,
I'll address that right now.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Kelsey,
Yes,
you know how to get a hold of me.
I know, but the reason I did it here, sir, is because I want the council to be aware of it too, not just you.
Okay, we have a officer that sits there twice a day at Abbott and Howard doing crossing guard
Abbott and
details.
Howard's 2 different, yeah, that's,
Okay.
okay.
If there's somebody on a 4-wheeler, whether it's your street, any street, contact the police department. We obviously can't be at every location at the same
When
time.
I contact you, they're gone, you know it, and I know it.
We do have a traffic officer that,
Okay.
yes, Sergeant Walther. Typically on those things, if they're gonna be out and about, they typically stick around, you know.
Well, I've been there, and I've been retired for a long time, I haven't
We
seen.
don't always stop for the police when we go to pull them over,
I'm
but,
just saying, and I'm not talking about Howard, but I'm talking about Abbott, because I live 3 houses on Riverbank off of Abbott, and I walk my dog, and I tell you what, I have not, no disrespect, but I have not seen one. And I know I'm not the only residents complaining about that. My,
All right,
yeah, we're done.
gentlemen, yeah, we can't have back and forth, so if you could just talk, and if there's anything that we need...
if there's any kind of traffic
Please
issues
let us know.
anywhere in the city, contact the police department.
Thank you. Yeah, that is the best way to do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Mike. My name's Jeff Watson, resident. I would like to get maybe a follow-up on the water main construction that's going on. I have been kind of watching out of curiosity the construction and how everything has been put together. And I discovered the other day that inspector from Hennessy had came right to my property where is has to be coupled together. Every certain feet has to be coupled together. Well, the inspector from Hennessy had came to my property, and I was listening to him, and he was getting a little anxious on the workers, that he was telling them that he had gave them warnings the week prior that the construction was not being done properly. And then when the inspector, I think the guy, I think his name is Thomas, discovered that they were still doing the same thing wrong. And I'd just like to get a follow-up on where that stands right now, because I noticed the very next day, John and one of the reps from Hennessy was standing in front of my house figuring out what to do. But I've noticed this past week that's been sitting there with a big hole in
On a
it.
normal basis, we won't do this, but I've had several calls regarding this, so I'm going to ask Mr. Kazoo to please stand up and explain what happened.
I still have two more questions I needed to address in that.
Okay.
As I'm watching the construction, just out of interest, I used to repair hydraulics and pipes, and so I kind of know how couplings go together and the sleeves that go on inside. Anyway, I've noticed that these workers are being kind of rough. The new street squares that were put in on my street 3 years ago, they're starting to crack up. The handicap approaches that were put in at the same time, they're busting up. Neighbors' approaches, driveway approaches are being cracked unnecessarily. And I just was wondering, just got paying a lot of money with capital improvement raises and another one coming and everything. We just spent a bunch of money putting them new streets in, and this water main company is just busting it all up. So, I just was trying to get a follow-up, and maybe the city manager can help me out on that, where it stands, or...
Mr. Kazoo?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. John Kazoo, DPS Director. As a citizen said, myself and Hennessy were out there. We've been out there multiple times and on other streets. There will be damage during the construction process. That damage will be corrected. But now let me go back to the specific item that he brought up, where they're trying to connect two different types of HDPE pipe that were put in two different methods. One was a pipe burst and one was a directional drill. The connections are correct and proper. The inspector brought this to my attention. I went out there, I met out there with, let's call it the city engineer, Jim Hollingsworth, and everything is correct. One of the issues that the inspector had brought up, he had a misunderstanding on what was needed at that particular connection in front of your home. That has been corrected. So as far as I'm concerned, the pipe is going in properly. One of the issues we're having is the Hennessy group is having trouble communicating with the crew that is out there. 99.9% of them, really 100% of them, are Hispanic, and they don't speak any English. We have requested that somebody that can be a translator or has the ability to receive direction, comments, or anything like that, get that relayed to the crew working out there. And we've had that success. And again, we've got a progress meeting tomorrow, and that'll be re-brought up. And a lot of the topic that we had met out there in front of your home will be reiterated to the contractor. Does anybody have any questions?
I'm just going to I want to make it clear that if the contractor does damage to our street, our cement, they are responsible, correct?
Yes, and it's also, because we know that will happen, because a lot of the water main is being put in between back to curb and front of walk, and sometimes sidewalks do have to come out, like maybe where there's a water service that has to be newly installed, especially those that are lead services, and we take it right into the home, and then some of the roadway will be damaged, because they also have to take lead services to what we call the long side of the block, meaning if the water main is on, let's call it the north side of the street, we still have to get services over to the south side of the street. So there is damage, and it will be covered under the contract, or through the contract.
Anybody else want to ask John about anything?
So the couplings,
the issue was the inside sleeve and the outside sleeve, and that's all been discussed and fixed, and
Kind of.
they're all,
There is an inside coupling, or let's say sleeve, inside the pipe, but there is not an exterior.
there's no exterior,
No,
so there's just
there's
a
not.
flange on the outside, and they all got that right now? They
Yes.
all, and they, the parts that were done before this was brought to their attention, they've all, the prior work was done correctly.
Well, to my knowledge, there was not an issue prior until your black, and that, we checked into it, we looked at it because all of those holes were still open,
Okay,
and they're in correctly.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you. Anybody else want to talk to the council? And with that, now we will go to the council report, and we'll start with the council president.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll keep it brief. First off, thank you, Mr. Watson, for bringing those issues to our attention. I'll definitely check with that Stewart, I believe, at Huron, and where the cement's cracking, so I'll be checking that out. Former Councilman Kelsey, I do understand when many bike rides by or a four-wheeler rides by the time I call the police, they're gone. I get that. And as far as street sweeping, I hear you. And in regards to the number of DPS employees from 2014, the number of 50, I'll have to have coffee with you one day and we can discuss that, all right? We're down to 22, it sounds like, maybe a couple short. Anyway, the only thing I have, Your Honor, is we have members in our community that are on strike with Stellantis, General Motors, and Ford. Please keep them in your thoughts, and hopefully they get a ratified contract soon. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Councilman Morgan?
I don't have much tonight. It's been a very nice summer. I'm looking forward to fall. Please be careful of all the children out there. I've noticed even in my neighborhood, and I can relate, Mr. Kelsey, people are driving a little crazy and there's kids everywhere. I do have a question. Are golf carts considered four-wheel?
They can't be on that street.
Okay, because I have a lot in my neighborhood and a lot of big ones all over the place, so they make me a little crazy. Other than that, just stay safe and enjoy the cool weather with your windows open, and everybody have a great week. Thank you.
William?
Thank you. So this will be the last time I'll be able to put the last call out for the mums, the Lincoln Park Animal Shelter's Fall Mum fundraiser. You have it until the 20th. The 9-inch pot is $11, and their 10-inch hanging basket is $17. Chief, can I ask you real quick, because I know that the number to call is for the animal shelter. Can they leave a message and be guaranteed that their order will be put in?
Yes, there's I guess, answer. If somebody's not there. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So please call the animal shelter at 313-970-5269 to place your order. And again, the movie in the park, I understand that the movie will be The Greatest Showman. So I thought maybe that, of course, it's free. Wanted to make sure I told you it was free. And then, just real quick from the museum, they are having open reception on Sunday, October 8th for the Ropp School 100-year celebration. Please mark down Saturday, October the 14th from 10 to 1 if you can come and help out with the museum grounds workday. Wednesday, October the 25th at 7 p.m., the museum will be restarting their evening programs, and the program on that day is Henry Ford, his life timeline, and the presentation will be by Mark Campbell of the Henry Ford Heritage Association. And then, of course, I know this is way in advance, but I'll give you this one. Saturday, November the 11th at 11 a.m. is, of course, our Veterans Day bell ringing ceremony. Mayor mentioned October 8th from noon to 3 is the Firehouse Open House. All are welcome. And of course, keep your happenings because there is a lot going on. October 21st, from 8 to 1, is the Wayne County Household Hazardous Waste Collection at Wayne County Community College in Taylor. And you can still order shirts from the museum. T-shirts and sweatshirts are still available. And then I thought I would just remind you that Simple Recycling still picks up at your front door. So if you have any donations for them, you do that online, www.simplerecycling.com, to place your pickup. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Go ahead, Jason.
Good evening. Now that fall starting, of course, as we've all mentioned several times, school has definitely started and gotten into full gear. For people that are interested in showing their LP rail splitter pride, their LPHS The Crossing is having their fall open house sale this Wednesday from 3 to 7:30 at the high school. They have a brand new line of merchandise available, and I simply saw the flyer on Facebook and wanted to pass the information along. And that's all I have for the evening. Thank you.
Councilman Zorn.
Yes, first I want to say congratulations to promotions, Lieutenant Hammerly and to Sergeant Kupser. Congratulations on that. And we're a family in Lincoln Park, and I just wanted to say that welcome to the family. I also want to say thank you to the Historical Museum for the brick paver ceremony and the beautiful brick pavers that they did. I also want to say thank you to all the new employees in our city. Welcome to our family. And last, I'd like to say thank you to Wayne County Road Commission, Kara Clementi, our commissioner. And they've, I'm very happy with the way that they did Southfield. They tried to limit the way it was handled, so that it didn't interfere with traffic any more than it had to. They've done a very good job on that. It's very nice. That's a big part of Southfield that I travel, so I was very happy to see it. And with that, that's all I have this evening.
I did have one other thing I meant to talk about in the mayor's report, and I didn't, and I'm sorry. A lot of people are complaining about the smell on Southfield by the creek, and I want everybody to be assured that it is not ours, it is the county's. They are cleaning the creek, they are and doing some stuff down there. That is what the smell is. It will only last until they are done, but that is what the smell is, and I'm hearing a lot of talk about it, so I'm just letting the public know. It's going to go away as soon as they're done with the creek. The county's been doing a lot of work on the creek over the next year, so buy some nose plugs. So, it's and with that, I will call for support.
Councilperson Salcido?
Yes.
Soar?
Yes.
Bear?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Kovic?
Yes.
And Mayor Higgins?
Yes.